All right, so we're going to dive into something pretty fascinating today.
Okay.
You know that image of the golden calf from the story of the Israelites in the Quran?
Right.
Well, get this. It's not just some ancient tale.
Mm.
We're going to unpack this story.
Okay.
Because it offers some really powerful insights into how
Okay.
even those of us who consider ourselves devout believers can be influenced by this thing called cultural colonization.
Very interesting. Yeah, this story isn't just a historical anecdote. It's like a parable about how cultural colonization can subtly seep into our belief systems and shape our values and desires and even our understanding of God.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We talk about the Israelites right after they escaped slavery in Egypt.
Okay.
Imagine they spent generations under the control of this massive empire.
Right.
Egypt had this advanced architecture technology, a level of sophistication that must have been incredible to witness.
And that's key to understanding what happens next. The Israelites, even though they were enslaved, would have been surrounded by this dominant Egyptian culture for their entire lives.
Yeah.
Remember, a central element of that culture was their profound reverence for the cow.
So it wasn't just a simple worship the cow situation.
No.
There's got to be more to it, right?
Exactly. To the Egyptians, the cow wasn't just an animal. It was a symbol woven into their entire worldview.
Okay.
Think about it. The cow represented power, protection, nourishment, even the cycles of nature.
Okay.
Their bull god Apis embodied strength and stability.
Right.
While Hathor, the cow goddess, was associated with motherhood and sustenance.
So for them, it's about what the cow symbolized.
Precisely. The Egyptians viewed the cow as the source of their prosperity, security, even their very survival.
Wow.
And when a culture holds something in such high regard, it naturally permeates every aspect of their lives. Can you see how being immersed in that environment for generations would have had a deep impact on the Israelites?
I can see that.
Even if it was happening subconsciously.
Yeah, it's like being surrounded by certain ideas and beliefs for so long that you start to absorb them without even realizing it.
Yes, and that's what makes cultural colonization so insidious. It can subtly shape your perspectives, your values, even your understanding of right and wrong without you even being fully aware of it.
Okay, so then we have this dramatic escape from Egypt.
Right.
Moses parts the Red Sea, the plagues strike Egypt, and the Israelites are finally free. You'd think their faith would be unshakable after witnessing those incredible miracles.
You'd think.
But then this guy, Samir, steps in and builds a golden calf idol.
Yeah.
And even more surprising, people start to worship it.
Right.
I mean, what's happening here?
It's wild.
These are the same people who just experienced God's power firsthand.
It might seem baffling at first, but if we look closely at the psychology of the situation, it becomes a bit clearer. Think about it. Samiri didn't introduce a completely foreign concept. He very cleverly tapped into the Israelites' existing beliefs. Those subconscious biases that had been ingrained during their time in Egypt. He was able to blend elements of their old religion, the reverence for the cow, with their new faith. Creating a distorted version of belief that they were already primed to accept.
So even though they were learning about monotheism and God's power through Moses, there were still those lingering influences from their past that they were susceptible to.
Yes.
It's as if these cultural influences had become so ingrained in their thinking that it was hard to fully shake them off.
Exactly. And that's precisely what makes cultural colonization so powerful and frankly dangerous.
Yeah.
It subtly shapes your perception of the world, your sense of what is right and wrong, what is sacred and profane.
Yeah.
It can even shape your understanding of God without you ever realizing it.
It makes you wonder if there are similar things happening in our own lives today. Are there subtle cultural influences shaping our thoughts and behaviors that we're not even aware of?
That's a great question, and one we should all consider.
Yeah.
This story encourages us to examine our values and behaviors critically. Where do our sense of worth, our aspirations, our ideas of success come from? Are they truly our own, or have they been subtly shaped by external forces?
So let's talk about Samiri for a moment.
Okay.
This guy seems pretty cunning.
He does.
Was he simply a troublemaker, or was there more to his motivation? What was he trying to achieve by building that golden calf?
Well, the Quran provides an interesting clue. It quotes Samiri explaining his actions, and he says, I grabbed a handful of the footprint of the messenger.
Wait, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Did he literally take some dirt from Moses' footprint?
It's not meant to be taken literally.
Okay.
Remember when Moses was questioned about rushing back to the Israelites? He explained that they were right behind his footsteps.
Right.
Samir, recognizing the Israelites' continued attachment to their Egyptian past,
Right.
and seeing their devotion to Moses, saw an opportunity.
Okay.
He wanted to grab a piece of Moses' authority, so to speak, and create a following for himself.
So it was a power play.
Exactly.
He was exploiting their cultural vulnerability for his own gain.
Exactly. And this ties into a significant theme in the Quran.
Okay.
God rejects those who seek worldly greatness and are arrogant.
Right.
Samir, with his pursuit of influence and control, distanced himself from God's guidance. He represents those who choose worldly ambition over spiritual truth.
And what about the Israelites who followed him?
Right.
Their actions reveal something about their understanding of God, don't they?
They do.
They didn't seem to be seeking a deep, meaningful connection with the divine.
Right.
It seemed more transactional.
Yeah.
We follow you, God. Now you owe us prosperity and comfort.
That's a very insightful observation.
Yeah.
The Israelites' behavior reveals what we call a transactional view of faith, an expectation of immediate rewards and material benefits for their belief.
And that transactional mindset, it's something we see even today.
For sure.
People making dua for specific outcomes, feeling disappointed when prayers aren't answered in the way they expect.
Right.
It's like they're trying to bargain with God.
You're right. And this brings up a really important point about the nature of true faith.
Yeah.
True faith goes beyond mere transactions. It's about a deeper surrender, a willingness to trust in God's wisdom, even when things don't go our way.
So what happens next in this story?
So
Moses comes down the mountain, sees this golden calf, and he's understandably furious.
Yeah.
What does he do?
Well, Moses confronts Samir, exposes his deception, and destroys the idol.
Okay.
But then things take an unexpected turn.
Okay.
God, in order to address the root of the problem, gives the Israelites a rather peculiar command.
Okay, now I'm really curious.
Yeah.
What was this strange command?
He commands them to sacrifice a cow.
A cow of all the things.
Yeah.
A cow that seems incredibly specific, doesn't it?
It's no coincidence, you see.
Okay.
Remember, the cow was the ultimate symbol of Egyptian power and divinity.
Right.
By instructing the Israelites to sacrifice a cow, God was forcing them to confront their lingering attachment to their past, to break free from the mental and spiritual chains of their former oppressors.
So it was a symbolic act of defiance.
Exactly.
They were rejecting the very thing they were tempted to worship.
Exactly. It was a test of their loyalty, their willingness to submit to God's will, even when it challenged their deepest cultural conditioning.
But how did the Israelites react to this command?
Wow.
Did they simply say, okay, no problem, we'll sacrifice a cow?
Not quite. What unfolds next is a fascinating study of human psychology.
Okay.
And I think it's something we can all relate to. Instead of immediately obeying, they start raising objections, asking a series of increasingly specific questions about the cow's characteristics.
Really?
It's as if they were trying to find a loophole, a way to avoid following through on the command.
It sounds like they were stalling, hoping that if they asked enough questions, the whole thing would just disappear.
And what's fascinating is that their very questions, their resistance to the command, actually lead them closer to the very symbol they were supposed to reject.
Wait, how does that work?
Each time they asked a question, God provided an answer that aligned more and more with the description of the sacred cows of Egypt.
Interesting.
They asked about the cow's color. God said yellow, a color often associated with gold. They asked about its age. God said not too young, not too old, just like the prime age of the sacred cows.
Okay.
They asked about its use. God said it has never been put to work, echoing the pampered existence of the Egyptian idols.
So the more they tried to avoid the command, the more they were forced to confront the very thing they were trying to escape.
Precisely.
They basically painted themselves into a corner.
Their resistance highlights a very human tendency.
Right.
We often hesitate, question, and even resist the right path when it seems difficult or challenges our preconceived notions, especially when those notions are deeply embedded in our cultural psyche.
It's a powerful message about the internal struggle to overcome deeply embedded cultural influences.
It is.
We might think we're free from them.
Right.
But those subconscious biases can linger for generations.
And this is precisely why this story is so relevant even today.
Right.
It's a warning about the dangers of cultural colonization that persist in our own time.
Yeah.
We might not be building golden calves in the desert, but we're surrounded by modern-day idols that can capture our hearts and minds just as effectively.
This raises an important question for our listeners. What are your golden calves?
Right.
What are those things, those ideas, those beliefs that you might be unknowingly revering?
It's a question we should all ponder.
Yeah.
The story of the Israelites and the golden calf isn't just about ancient history.
Right.
It's a timeless parable about the human condition, our susceptibility to external influences, and the constant struggle to align our hearts with what is truly sacred.
And as we continue exploring this story, remember that this struggle is real, even for those who consider themselves believers. The Quran mentions that the Israelites almost didn't do it, emphasizing that even after everything they'd seen, even after rejecting Samiri's deception, they still almost succumbed to their ingrained cultural programming.
It's true.
It's a sobering thought.
Indeed, it suggests that even those of us striving to follow God's path can be vulnerable to the subtle influences of cultural colonization.
Right.
It's a call to be vigilant, to constantly examine our values and behaviors, and to ensure that we are not unknowingly worshiping at the altar of modern-day golden calves.
Yeah, it really makes you think,
It does.
even after witnessing miracles and receiving direct guidance, the Israelites still almost faltered. It just highlights the persistent power of these ingrained beliefs.
There's that saying.
You can take the people out of Egypt, but you can't take Egypt out of the people.
Right.
Their experience wasn't just about physical freedom.
Right.
It was about achieving a deeper, more profound freedom from the cultural conditioning that had shaped their worldview.
Exactly. Their journey was about more than just leaving a geographical location. It was about freeing their minds and hearts from the grip of those deeply ingrained influences.
So how does this story connect to us today?
Well,
we might not have literal golden calves in our lives.
Right.
But are there modern-day equivalents that we need to be wary of?
Absolutely. Think of the golden calf as a representation of anything that we elevate to a position of undue importance in our lives.
Okay.
Anything that takes precedence over our connection with God. It could be wealth, status, fame, or even certain ideologies or cultural trends that we follow blindly.
So it's about recognizing when something has taken on an almost sacred importance in our lives.
Yes.
Dictating our decisions, values, and even our sense of identity.
Yeah. It's like we've unknowingly created our own golden calves.
Precisely. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
These modern-day golden calves are often presented to us in very appealing packages.
Right.
They promise happiness, fulfillment, a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose even.
Okay.
But what happens, they ultimately leave us feeling empty and unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Because they're not aligned with our true nature, our inherent need for a connection with the divine.
It's like chasing a mirage in the desert.
Oh, that's good.
It seems so real, so enticing.
Right.
But when you get close, you realize there's nothing there.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So how do we avoid falling into this trap?
Right.
How do we identify and, more importantly, dismantle those personal golden calves in our own lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It all starts with awareness.
Okay.
We need to be more discerning about the messages we are constantly bombarded with.
Right.
Those cultural narratives that subtly shape our worldview. We need to pause and ask ourselves some tough questions.
Where do my values come from?
Right.
What truly gives me a sense of purpose and meaning in life?
It's about taking a step back and examining our beliefs, our motivations, our desires, to really see if they are aligned with our true selves, or if they've been influenced by something external, something that might not actually be serving us.
Yes. And it's also about being willing to challenge the status quo, to question those assumptions that we've perhaps unknowingly adopted.
Right.
It might even require us to go against the grain, which can feel uncomfortable.
Right.
But it's often in those moments of discomfort that real growth happens.
It's like we're being asked to examine the foundations of our own personal Egypt, so to speak, and see if there are any lingering influences that we need to break free from.
Right.
It's about forging our own path.
Yeah.
One that is authentic to who we truly are and aligned with what we believe.
That's beautifully put. And remember, this process is a journey, not a destination. It's a continuous process of self-reflection, of purifying our hearts and intentions, and of constantly striving to align ourselves with what is truly sacred.
So to our listener, let's shift gears a bit and get practical for a moment.
Okay.
How can we apply this story to our daily lives?
Yeah.
What are some concrete examples of modern-day golden calf that we might be unknowingly revering?
Okay.
What should we be on the lookout for?
That's a great question. Let's start by looking at some of the most common ones.
Okay.
Think about the pervasive emphasis on material wealth and possessions in today's society. Have you ever noticed how often we're bombarded with messages that equate success with having a bigger house, a fancier car, the latest gadgets?
Oh, yeah?
It's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of these things, believing they will bring us happiness and fulfillment.
It's like we've been conditioned to believe that our worth is somehow tied to what we own, how much money we make, or what kind of lifestyle we can afford.
Exactly. And this pursuit can easily become a golden calf if we're not careful.
Yeah.
It can lead to feelings of inadequacy, envy, and a constant striving for more, which ultimately takes us further away from the things that truly matter. Our relationships, our spiritual growth, our connection to something greater than ourselves.
It's like that saying, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
When we're constantly comparing ourselves to others and measuring our worth based on external factors, we lose sight of what truly makes us valuable.
That's a great point. And here's another modern-day golden calf to watch out for. Relentless pursuit of status and recognition. In today's social media-driven world, it's easy to get caught up in the number of likes, followers, and shares we receive. We start to seek validation from external sources, placing our self-worth in the hands of others.
It's like we're constantly looking for that external pat on the back, that digital thumbs up to tell us we're doing okay. We crave that sense of approval.
Yes.
Even if it's fleeting and superficial.
And the danger here is that we can become so focused on projecting a certain image, on crafting the perfect online persona, that we lose sight of who we really are. We become disconnected from our authentic selves and end up living for the approval of others rather than for the sake of our own growth and development.
It's a recipe for unhappiness, isn't it?
It is.
Because true happiness and fulfillment come from within.
Yes.
From living in alignment with our values and purpose, not from seeking external validation.
Absolutely. And remember, this is not to say that wanting nice things or desiring recognition is inherently wrong. It's about recognizing when those desires start to control us. When they take on an unhealthy importance in our lives and pull us away from what truly matters. It's about finding that balance, that sweet spot where we can enjoy the blessings of this world without letting them become our golden calves.
So it seems like the key here is self-awareness. We need to be mindful of the things we're giving our attention to, our energy to our time, to are these things truly serving us, helping us grow and evolve, bringing us closer to God? Or are they distracting us, holding us back? And ultimately leading us further away from our true purpose?
You've hit the nail on the head. It all comes down to making conscious choices about what we prioritize in our lives. And if we find ourselves chasing after golden calves, whether they're material possessions, fleeting fame, or even rigid ideologies that limit our growth, it's never too late to course correct.
It's about recognizing those patterns in our behavior.
Yes.
Acknowledging the influences that may have led us astray, and then choosing to realign ourselves with our values and our connection to God.
Exactly. And remember, this journey of self-discovery and realignment is a lifelong process. It's not about achieving some state of perfect purity or enlightenment. It's about constantly striving, learning, growing, and evolving. It's about taking those missteps, those moments of getting caught up in the golden calves of our time, as opportunities for reflection, learning, and course correction.
So in essence, it's about turning those potential stumbles into stepping stones,
Yes.
Using those experiences to propel us forward on our spiritual journey, rather than letting them define or derail us.
Beautifully put. And just like the Israelites who eventually overcame their challenges and continued on their path, we too can learn from their story and apply those lessons to our own lives. It's about remembering that we are not alone in this journey. We have the guidance of God, the teachings of the prophets, and the support of a community of believers to help us navigate the complexities of modern life.
That's a really reassuring thought.
It is.
It's about approaching these challenges not with a sense of shame or judgment,
Right.
but with a sense of curiosity, compassion,
Yeah.
and a willingness to learn and grow.
And that brings us to another critical aspect of this story that we haven't touched upon yet.
Okay.
Remember those seemingly endless questions that the Israelites asked about the cow they were supposed to sacrifice?
You mean how they keep asking about its color, its age, its use?
Exactly.
Almost as if they were stalling or trying to find a way out of fulfilling the command?
Exactly. Their questioning, although seemingly defiant, actually reveals a deeper layer of the human experience that we can all relate to.
Okay.
It highlights the struggle we often face when confronted with challenges or instructions that don't immediately make sense to us.
It's like that feeling of resistance we get when we're asked to do something that challenges our comfort zones.
Yes.
Or pushes us beyond our perceived limitations.
Exactly. And just like the Israelites, we might find ourselves questioning, rationalizing, or even trying to negotiate our way out of the situation.
It's almost as if we're saying, God, are you sure this is the right way?
Yes.
Couldn't we do it a little differently?
Yeah.
Maybe with a slightly different cow.
Yes. And what's fascinating is that they're questioning their resistance. Yeah. Actually played a crucial role in their journey.
Okay.
It forced them to grapple with their preconceived notions, to confront their deeply ingrained beliefs.
Right.
And to ultimately arrive at a deeper understanding of God's wisdom.
So their questioning, even though it seemed like defiance, was actually part of their process of growth and understanding.
Exactly.
It was through those questions, those moments of wrestling with the command,
Yes.
that they were able to shed some of those layers of cultural conditioning and move closer to the truth.
Precisely. And that brings us to a really important point for our listeners.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Right.
Don't be afraid to wrestle with those difficult concepts or challenge those beliefs that you've perhaps taken for granted.
It's about approaching our faith with a sense of curiosity, a thirst for knowledge, and a willingness to engage in that healthy tension between questioning and seeking understanding.
Remember, true faith is not about blind acceptance. It's about seeking knowledge, pondering those deeper meanings, and arriving at a place of conviction through thoughtful reflection and sincere inquiry.
So it's not just about following the rules blindly.
No.
It's about understanding the why behind those rules, the wisdom they contain,
Yeah.
and how they can help us grow as individuals and as a community.
Exactly. And sometimes that understanding comes through asking those difficult questions, through challenging those assumptions, and through engaging in those healthy debates that allow us to deepen our knowledge and refine our understanding of our faith.
So instead of viewing questioning as a sign of weakness or doubt,
Yes.
we can actually see it as a catalyst for growth, a way to strengthen our connection with God and deepen our understanding of His wisdom.
Beautifully put. And just like those seemingly endless questions about the cow ultimately led the Israelites to a profound realization.
Right.
Our questions can lead us to deeper insights and a more profound connection with the divine.
It's like we're on a treasure hunt. And those questions are the clues that guide us toward the ultimate prize.
Yes.
A deeper understanding of ourselves, our faith, and our purpose in this world.
And sometimes the most valuable treasures are found not at the end of the journey,
Right.
but in those moments of struggle,
Yeah.
those moments of questioning and seeking, those moments where we allow ourselves to be challenged and transformed.
It's about embracing the journey with all its twists and turns.
Yes.
Knowing that it's in those moments of uncertainty and challenge that we often discover our greatest strengths and uncover the most profound truths.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
Right.
We have each other, we have the guidance of our faith, and we have the infinite wisdom of God to guide us every step of the way.
Yeah, it's amazing how this story, which happened so long ago, still has so much to teach us about ourselves and our relationship with God.
Absolutely.
It's like holding up a mirror to our own lives and seeing those subtle influences, those modern day golden calves that we might be unknowingly giving too much importance to.
It's a timeless reminder that even those who strive to live a life of faith can be susceptible to the allure of things that distract us from our true purpose.
Right.
We might not be bowing down to a literal golden calf, but there are plenty of modern-day equivalents that can capture our hearts and minds just as effectively.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what are some key takeaways that our listener can reflect on?
Right.
What are some practical steps we can take to identify and dismantle those golden calves in our own lives?
First and foremost, cultivate that sense of self-awareness we were talking about.
Okay.
Take some time to honestly assess your values, your priorities, and your aspirations.
Right.
Ask yourself, where do these come from? Are they truly aligned with my beliefs and my desire to be closer to God? Or have they been shaped by external pressures, cultural norms?
Right.
Or the desire to fit in?
It's like taking an inventory of our inner world.
Yeah.
Examining the beliefs, the desires, and the motivations that drive our actions. And sometimes what we discover might surprise us.
Exactly. And once you've done that internal audit, so to speak,
Okay.
the next step is to be mindful of the messages you're consuming.
Right.
Pay attention to the media you engage with, the conversations you have, even the thoughts that run through your mind.
Okay.
Are they reinforcing a materialistic worldview?
Right.
A focus on external validation? Or a sense of competition and comparison?
Right.
Or are they promoting values of compassion, gratitude,
Okay.
and connection with something greater than yourself?
It's about being a conscious consumer of information and experiences.
Yeah.
Filtering out the noise that can distract us from what truly matters.
Right.
It's about choosing to fill our minds and hearts with things that uplift us, inspire us, and nourish our souls.
That's beautifully put. And here's another practical tip.
Okay.
Surround yourself with people who support your journey, who encourage your spiritual growth, and who remind you of your true values.
Yeah.
Seek out communities and relationships that foster a sense of belonging, purpose, and connection with something beyond the material world.
It's like building a support system, a network of like-minded individuals who can help us stay grounded, focused, and aligned with our true purpose.
Yes.
Because, let's face it, this journey isn't always easy.
Right.
And having that support can make all the difference.
Absolutely. And remember, this is a lifelong journey of learning, growth, and transformation.
Right.
There will be times when you stumble, when you get caught up in the allure of those golden calves,
Yeah.
when you lose sight of what truly matters, but don't be discouraged.
Okay.
See those moments as opportunities for course correction,
Right.
for recommitting to your values, and for deepening your connection with God.
It's about embracing the process, acknowledging our imperfections, and extending compassion to ourselves as we navigate the complexities of life. It's about remembering that we're all works in progress, constantly striving, learning, and evolving.
And finally, never underestimate the power of prayer and reflection. Take time each day to connect with God, to express your gratitude, to seek guidance, and to ask for strength on your journey.
Okay.
Remember, you're not alone in this.
Yes.
You have the support of the divine, the wisdom of the prophets, and the love of a community of believers to guide and sustain you.
So to our listener, as we conclude this deep dive,
Yes.
we leave you with this thought.
Okay.
The story of the Israelites and the golden calf isn't just an ancient tale.
Right.
It's a timeless reminder of the challenges and triumphs of the human spirit.
It is.
It's a story about our capacity for both great faith and great folly,
Yeah.
about the subtle influences that can shape our worldview, and about the enduring power of God's guidance and mercy.
May this story inspire you to reflect on your own journey, to identify and dismantle any golden calves that might be hindering your growth, and to embrace the transformative power of living a life aligned with your true values and your connection with the divine.
And remember, the journey might not always be easy, but it's in those moments of challenge, those moments of questioning and seeking, that we often discover our greatest strengths and uncover the most profound truths.
That's right.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep seeking.
Yes.
And most importantly, keep the faith